Hey Matrix, welcome to part 1 of the series where we'll be going through Maths Paper 1 past papers. In this video I'll be covering question 1 of the 2020 past paper, the November paper. If you don't have the paper yet, please pause the video now and go to my channel where you'll find the link to a website where you can download the past papers. Otherwise, check the description below for the link as well. Once you have the paper, then resume watching the video where we'll be going through them. Okay, let's have a look at the 2020 paper. So question 1, 1.1, it's always factorizing, need two x values. Okay, question 1.1.2 is going to be using your quadratic formula. Okay, I'm not going to go over these two questions because they grade 10 and 11 work. So the quadratic formula, just remember x equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and that gives you two answers because it's plus or minus at the top there. Okay, so I want to start by focusing on 1.1.3, which is your inequality. Okay, so looking at the inequality which is given to us over here, okay, remember this here is just a function. We can call that f of x. So there's two main ways about going about this. I'll show you. The first thing is don't work with this over here when solving for x. Okay, rather change it to an equal sign and then solve for your x values. So 1 minus x plus 2 equals 0, so therefore x will equal to 1, or x equals negative 2. Okay, then draw your number line. So negative 2 and 1. Okay, now what you can do is plug in a number less than negative 2, so let's say negative 3, into here and see if it's greater than or less than 0. So if we take negative 3, 1 minus minus 3 becomes 1 plus 3, that's 4. Minus 3 plus 2 is negative 1, so positive times negative gives you negative. Okay, between negative 2 and 1, we can take 0. So if we plug in 0 over there, that's a positive number. If we plug in 0 over there, that's a positive number. So positive times positive gives you positive. If we go greater than 1, so let's take 2. 1 minus 2, it's a negative number, it gives you negative 1. 2 plus 2 is 4, so negative times a positive gives you negative. So we know that the function is less than 0 from 1 to infinity and from negative infinity up until negative 2. Okay, the other way we can do it is by drawing the function. I believe it is a better way of doing it. So if you FOIL out this expression over there, so f of x, that's what I've called it, will then give you negative x squared minus x plus 2. Okay, so we can see it's a negative parabola. So it's going to look something like this. Plus we know that the intercepting points are at negative 2 and 1. Okay, it's not drawn to scale. X and y. So what it's asking is, where is f of x below the x-axis? Okay, if we look at this drawing, from 1 to positive infinity, it's below the x-axis, and from negative 2 to negative infinity, it's below the x-axis. So on our number line, we'll have 1, negative 2, open circle, because it's strictly less than, and our arrows point outwards. Okay, looking at 1.4 now, dealing with the square root. Okay, so what we have to do is get rid of the square root, so we square both sides. So we'll have x plus 18 equals to x minus 2 squared. Okay, now once again, if we FOIL this expression out, we shall get x plus 18 is then going to give you x squared minus 4 x plus 4. Okay, take everything over to one side. Positive here, so take it over, everything becomes negative. 0 equals x squared minus 5x minus 14. Okay, so we know the factors of 14, 7 times 2, so we'll get the following. X must be minus 7 because that's minus 5, so we need the bigger number to be negative. X plus 2. Okay, so x equals 7 or x equals negative 2. Now, the thing is we have to check if this actually works up here. Okay, so you could plug 7 back in here, which means we'll have the square root 7 plus 18 gives you 25. 7 minus 2 is going to give you 5, so we can see that 5 equals 5, so this one works. If we plug negative 2 up in here, okay, we're going to get negative 2 plus 18 will give us the square root of 16 must equal negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. We know that the square root of 16 is 4 minus 4. Okay, now 4 does not equal minus 4. Okay, some of you might be saying yes, but the square root of 16 produces both plus and minus 4, which is correct, but in this case we're taking the square root to be greater than 0. Okay, so therefore negative 2 does not work. Okay, then looking at 1.3, oh, 1.2 first, sorry. Okay, so 1.2 I'm just going to give a general overlay about. You have two functions you have to solve simultaneously. Take the simpler one as your subject and either get y or x on its own, then substitute it back into your second function. So as you can see, I've labeled everything over here. So now we'd say sub c into b. Okay, so you're explaining what you're doing. Okay, and once you do that, you would end up with the following. Okay, you can solve it out. Now you can see it's going to produce a quadratic equation. Okay, so once you've solved all this out, you'll get the following. Minus 4x squared. Distribute the negative, that's negative 3 plus x. Okay, so you'll have a quadratic, so when you solve this, you're going to get 2 x values. Okay, substitute both these x values back into c, okay, which means you're going to get 2 y values. Okay, so you'll have x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, once you've done that, write them in your coordinate. Okay, and you'll have your answer. So that's just algebra, which you guys can work through. Okay, looking at the last question now, it asks you to find n, the largest integer for which n to the power of 200 is less than 5 to the power of 300. Okay, so the best way to go about this is to use your exponential rules for this over here. So I'm going to take out a common factor in my exponents, which is 100. So what do I mean by this? We'll have n squared to the power of 100 is less than 5 cubed to the power of 100. Okay, that comes from n to the power of a b equals nba. Okay, now because they're both to the same exponent at the top, they're both to the power of 100. Okay, this quantity and this quantity need to relate to each other, so I can drop the exponents of 100. So we'll have n squared is less than 5 cubed. Okay, 5 cubed is 125. Okay, so therefore n must be less than the square root of 125, which is approximately 11.8, I think. So therefore n, or no, it's less than that. It's, oh no, go and check your decimals by substituting that into your calculator and you'll should get that n is less than 11. Okay, you can use your logarithmic rules if you want. You take log on both sides. Log base 10 to the n to the 200 less than log 10 5 to the 300. Then from your rules you can take the 300 down to the front and the 200 down. So you'll be left with this. Okay, we can simplify it as a fraction. I'm going to be taking the 200 across. So log of 10n must be less than 3 over 2 log 10 of 5. And then to get n on its own, your exponent rules say that we can take the base 10 to 3 over 2 log of 5. So just go and check that, and you should get n is less than 11. Okay. Okay, so if you guys have enjoyed the video, if you found it helpful, then please leave a thumbs up. If you have any comments, any questions on anything, please leave them in the comments below. If you know of a friend who might be struggling with some of the stuff, please pass it on to them so that I can help them with any of their problems as well. And stay tuned to the channel for part 2, where we'll be going over question 2 of the maths paper 1 past papers. Also, if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks.